I'm going through a bit of a difficult time in my financial life. I think a lot of us probably are. Money. We all need it, but we all don't necessarily use it as a post-coital wet wipe. Well, we could. It's dirty, we probably get urinary tract infections, but it's free. Well, it's not free, but you can reuse it. But yeah, I've been applying for a lot of jobs, and I hate the process. Not just because I never know when I'm going to get another job, or I'm just sending out these resumes into the ether not knowing if I'm ever going to hear back. It feels like wasted labor. But specifically because once I get the interview, I then feel like I have to abandon my true self in order to get the job. You know, that's the worst part, yeah. And I applied for a copywriting job last week, and I get up to this office, this beautiful Art Deco building in Midtown, 54th Street, right next to the Saks Fifth Avenue. And I go into the lobby, I ask the guy, I'm like, hey, I'm here to see Joel White, and he said, do you know what floor he's on? And I said, no, I don't know. He just told me to come here. I figured he'd meet me in the lobby. And so I'm texting Joel, and Joel's not replying. And I look up, and there's this beautiful mural on the ceiling. It's got cherubs and a chariot and the cherry cheesecake, lots of CH things from Juniors in Brooklyn. And then I just realized, you know what? I'm just gonna walk up. If they want to arrest me, they're gonna arrest me. Fuck it, let's do it. I walk up these marble staircase. No one stops me. By then, I'd become like, you know, when you're spear fishing. I mean, you guys all spear fish. You know, when you stick the spear in the water, you just keep it there for a while because eventually the fish just thinks it's part of the landscape. And that's how I was in the lobby. I'd been in that lobby so long that I practically worked there. So I get up to Joel's office. He's like, oh, where were you? I'm like, I'm sorry, I thought you were going to come get me. It was misunderstanding. You know, I'm being deferential. I'm speaking about an octave higher than normally because I don't want to scare Joel. I don't want Joel to think I'm competing with him for alpha male status. So I'm like, yeah, Joel, I'm sorry. I just thought, yeah. I thought, so. And then Joel's like, okay, so you said in your resume that you were a published poet. And I was like, yeah, I got published once. It was just like a small local magazine upstate, nothing too crazy. Well, that's your only publishing, right? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, well, could you compose a poem on the spot right now? I'm like, well, that was a long time ago. I don't really write poetry so much anymore, Joel. But yeah, I don't think I could do that. And he's like, no, I insist. And I'm like, okay. Well, the thing is like, when I'm like writing poetry, my mind tends to go in the sexual areas, and I don't know if that would probably hinder me getting this job. So it's like I feel like I'm backed into a corner here, Mr. White. And he said, well, just try not to be too lewd and obscene. Just try to restrain that. And I'm like, fine. Could you just like snap a little first? And Joel. That's what I asked him, and he was like, no. He clicked his pen once. And I was like, okay. The ontological surroundings of Mephisto's book of tribulations are permeated by the big fat cock. I mean the word clock. I punch in and out. I mean, it's lubricated, and then I just left because I knew I didn't have the job. And that's my set. Thank you guys so much.
Comedy poetry hybrid. It's our specialty. Andrew Steiner, thank you. That was wonderful. I liked it. Gentle comedy.